Welcome to the Forensic Financialist, where we simplify business and leadership challenges and choose the road that leads to wisdom and excellence. We discuss tough issues facing business and figure out easy-to-implement solutions. Using the rearview mirror approach, we look in the rear view to move towards a brighter future. Here's your host, Jeff Newkirk.
Welcome to the Forensic Financialist. I'm your host, Jeff Newkirk. Remember, this is the podcast where we discuss business issues and develop understandable solutions for you. My goal is that you, the listener, come away with at least one nugget of useful information. So here we go. Today we have a very special guest, one who will enlighten us and make us smarter by the end of our discussion, no question. Mackenzie Childs. And today is Mackenzie's birthday. Happy birthday, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Mackenzie is a cognitive behavioral therapist, and that is a lot to say. As a former educator and realist and wine enthusiast, now I don't even know what that is, but so what is a wine enthusiast? I like wine, but I don't know if I'm an enthusiast.
Well, I lived in Florence, Italy in college. I did a study abroad over there. And it was a summer program. We got our packets to pick what classes we wanted to do. I took Psychology of the Offender and
Psychology of the Offender?
Yeah.
And wine tasting?
And wine tasting.
What a combo.
What a pair.
All right.
Definitely. But I learned a lot about it, and so I just carry it with me. It's one of the things I like.
Do you have a favorite kind of wine?
Yes. So I'm very big into the dark Cabernets. My favorite one is...
Is there a light Cabernet?
Well, there's a lighter version of a Cabernet. But there's like those bold Cabernets, and one of them that I really like is a Caposaldo. Yeah.
Already I feel smarter.
It's okay. You'll have to look into it.
Because I've never heard of that before.
It's okay.
Wine enthusiast, awesome. And Mackenzie comes from a diverse background of behavioral intervention, teaching, and business development strategies. As part of a project within the Klein Independent School District, Klein just northwest of Houston, Independent School District, to launch a new behavioral program on several campuses. She found her niche in wanting to help others grow their strengths within their career. Drawing from experience in several industries, Mackenzie brings thoughtful, visionary, and practical coaching within developing organizations. When the stakes are high for a new or veteran executive, a troubled team needs intervention. Amen. That's for sure. Or transition needs to take place, and she can provide the planning to the future while simultaneously improving day-to-day function. Her sensitive insight and, with tough issues, diffuses tensions and catalyzes collaboration. Boy, I like that. Catalyzes collaboration. Mm-hmm. So important, by the way.
It definitely is.
In the spring of 2020, she finished her master's degree in applied psychology from the University of Southern California with an emphasis in organizational development and consumer psychology. Boy, you don't do anything easy. Even the wine class sounded difficult. Allowing others to see their growth potential and bringing about the best self in each individual are concepts Mackenzie feels strongly about. She truly believes in giving leaders tools and strategies that build their business, as well as providing hands-on coaching through the processes of change. She has become a world traveler for networking in the field of organizational health, with Dubai as her most recent stop. Wow. Mm-hmm. Closer to home, she currently lives near her mother and sister and enjoys the time they get to spend together, painting, cycling, and trying new restaurants throughout the Woodlands, just north of Houston. Awesome. Welcome. It is great to have you on the podcast, The Forensic Financialist. So I'm glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
And again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So have you celebrated? Have you done anything for your birthday yet?
No, really, birthdays for me are my new year, right? I don't celebrate the new year in January. I celebrate it with my birthday. Because when you take a mental snapshot of what you've done in the past year, it really helps you spring forward into what you want to do and continue doing. So
Okay.
that's how
Mental
I celebrate.
snapshot.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that. What does that mean to take a mental snapshot?
So this is a concept that I really hone in on when I take on a new client. I want them to be the camera above the car. You know those new softwares that you can see the car from a 360 point of view?
So we're not talking like a 73 Impala.
No, we're not.
Okay.
Unfortunately. But, they have that. I don't even know how they do it. They just, apparently they
I don't know. There's cameras all over. And
it's crazy.
We don't even know.
Right. I know we're being watched all the time. But it's one of those, I want you to be able to do that in your brain. So remove yourself from your body and take a 360 view of where you are in that moment, a mental snapshot.
That is a cool visual.
Absolutely. And in this snapshot, whatever you value is what you're going to hone in on. And for me, those are the relationships that I have with people and who those people are in my life at that particular moment.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
I would agree.
So we all need to take a mental snapshot, right?
Yeah, you don't have to do it on your birthday, but I choose to because it helps me set up my next year, my next trip around the sun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Your next trip around the sun.
Yep.
And can we take a mental snapshot anytime during the year?
Absolutely.
We probably should, right?
Yeah.
I probably should take a mental snapshot every day.
Yep.
Helps me figure things out.
Maybe.
I need all the help I can get. So Mackenzie, tell us about Blink. This is your coaching company.
Right.
Tell us about Blink and how you got involved in cognitive behavioral therapy. And tell us, for people like me who don't even know what it is, what is cognitive behavioral therapy?
So I actually do cognitive behavioral coaching, which is a spinoff of cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
So cognitive behavioral therapists are your PhDs. Those are the ones that are licensed to provide therapy for your mental state. Now, my coaching company takes those underlying premises of the therapy and puts them into a perspective that helps you move forward. So if you're going to go to a therapist, you're generally going to talk about your past, some of the things that make you who you are, so that you can understand yourself where you are in that moment. I take it a little step further, and in my coaching, we only look at the past if it hinders your future.
So give us an example.
So in both concepts, there's a term limiting belief, right? These are the beliefs of fear setting you back for whatever purpose. I mean, it could be anything. It could be, I just want to go for a walk, but I don't want to go alone. Okay, well, the limiting belief is I don't want to go alone. Well, why? Okay, so we dissect that. We go back and we say, okay, what makes you feel anxiety about being alone? That's the only time we'll hinder, we could look at those hindrances from the past because you want to go on a walk. So we look at your goals. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't necessarily look at your goals. They look at you as the entire human, and they want you to have an understanding of who you are as a person.
But as a coach,
right,
you look at the goals.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that, number one, you're a motivated person. Number two, you actually have goals. And then number three.
What if you're not? Not motivated, don't have any goals. Can you still help me? Probably not, right?
Well, the thing is that, I would refer you to a therapist at that point, because then you need to establish some sort of internal motivation.
Because I wouldn't be receptive to your coaching.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. You have to have something that you want to accomplish.
Right.
Absolutely. But I do take those psychological components and make sure to catalyze them forward. And so you understand how your brain works. I want you to be your own coach because you understand how it works. So you won't need me after a year.
I feel smarter already, but I think the bar was pretty low with me.
Oh, man. We're just working on the car, okay? We're sticking to the car.
Thank you. Nothing too complicated.
Right, yeah.
So Blink, how did you come up with the name Blink? It's a
Well,
cool name, by the way.
Thank you. So with Blink, it's more of an idea that you can be in therapy for years, right? I mean, you can go and situations will arise and you can just stay there for a very long time.
And it really depends on what you need to work on.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
For me, in and out. I want to make sure that you have what you need to become your own coach. And typically, we go for a year. I have you for a year. We work through the entire process over the year. After that year is over, we reassess. Hopefully, you have moved on to being your own coach. You know the tools that you're going to use. You know how to get your brain in the right mindset. And you only check in with me once every couple months or so, maybe a quarter. Every quarter, you come and check in with me.
Okay.
That's why it's in a blink. From stuck to unstoppable in a blink.
Awesome.
Now
Makes sense.
Right. And a year doesn't seem like a blink, right? It doesn't.
But over the course of a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very short amount of time to invest in yourself to get maximum gain.
So how do clients determine they need your assistance, your coaching? How do they figure that out?
They don't figure it out. Nobody ever comes to me and says, I need coaching. It doesn't work that way. It's mostly they come to me with a problem. I've always been the person that it seems people are very comfortable opening up about what they've got going on in their life. I guess I just have this air about me that people just start telling me everything they've got going on.
Well, that's a gift.
I guess so.
Yeah.
It depends on, what the issue is, I guess.
Well, right. I mean,
but
hopefully it's at the right time and place.
Exactly. But, I really do like that about myself. And I set out a personal mission a couple of years ago that I wanted everybody I came in contact with to feel accepted by me in some way. So that just...
We all should.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, we all should feel that way.
Yeah. So they'll come to me and they'll say, okay, this is what I've got going on. And I'll coach them on the spot. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like, here's my product. I'm going to give it to you up front. You can choose whether or not you want to take it and run with it.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But
so are people pretty receptive to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've always been receptive to wanting to fix people's problems.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I might not.
So you're in the right profession.
I might not be good at fixing my own, but I can definitely fix yours. It's just something I like to do. I'm a fixer. I'm a problem solver, and I will work tooth and nail to fight for your problems. Okay. And I made a business out of it.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So tell us the journey that you were on to get here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, where do we start? If we want to start with a very troubled background as a child, psychology is really strange because you learn about it when you're a kid, but you don't actually know that you're learning about it, right? Mm-hmm. You learn about other people.
You don't recognize it because you don't understand all the concepts.
Exactly. And then when you get older and you start labeling those concepts, you think back and you understand, oh, that's what was going on. And now I get it. Mm-hmm. And
although not everybody does that.
Right, because not everybody sits down and reflects. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was exposed to a lot of psychological concepts as a child. I mean, really good ones and not so good ones as well. Mm-hmm. My mom was a single mom. Dad was pretty in and out and struggled with his own mental state. And seeing that made me want to fix it. It made me want to...
Even at a young age?
Yeah, absolutely. I was 13 years old and I was like, how can I help you? How can I talk you through this?
That is very impressive.
Right?
Extremely mature for a 13-year-old.
Well, I knew that from a survival perspective, if my parents were going to be parents, I felt I needed to contribute. because they weren't helping themselves. So that's where this
Wow, and
fix
you
it.
recognized it at a young age.
Yeah.
That's impressive, really.
And it's just one of those things that's where that fix it part of me comes from. All right, it's okay. We're going to solve it. Because I have this wonderful thing about me where I find the good in everybody to a fault. So I see in you many different good things, and I want to bring those out of you.
So you see the potential in somebody,
Right.
even when they might not see the potential in themselves and maybe nobody else does.
Right. And the only thing that I had to learn was that they had to be just as willing as me to bring it out of them.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So through this journey, I had, a single mom that was great, but she was also struggling with her own situation as well, being mom and dad. She wanted me to get the best education I could. I got 2 bachelor's degrees at North Texas because I swam there for a little bit of time and wanted to do physical therapy first, and then
So you were a scholar athlete.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I swam Division I, NCAA, and it was the best thing.
That's fantastic.
In the middle of it, though, I had career-ending shoulder surgery, and it took me a while to figure out that I could still use that athletic mentality for something else. And I put that into my school.
Awesome.
So I got 2 degrees at the same time in 2 different colleges. So some people think, oh, you double majored. No. I have 2 separate bachelor's degrees.
Okay. And what are the degrees in again?
So my first one is kinesiology. So that's that physical therapy track I was trying to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
That one has a minor in sociology. So that's how I understand people to be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
The second one I added quite near the end of my career there, because when I realized that physical therapy was probably not my goal.
It wasn't going to be your future?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to do occupational therapy instead, because I liked the mental health aspect of occupational therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually started the occupational therapy club. I founded it with another woman on campus at the time. I was vice president and then became president of it and ran it for a while. And then graduated with both degrees. And yes, my mother made me walk twice. So I had graduation on Friday, and then I had to sit through a whole nother graduation on Saturday.
Well, you earned them.
I know. She was so funny. I was like, Mom, I really don't want to walk twice. And she's like, no, like you did both. You got to walk for both.
You earned it.
Yeah. So I looking back, I'm like, okay, well, yeah.
It was the right thing.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And so through that, I left that program and had some successors that came through that occupational therapy program, and I'm very proud of what I did there, and applied to OT school in Texas, and I got into UTMB, which is the #1 occupational therapy school.
University of Texas.
Medical branch.
Medical branch, okay.
So in Galveston.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in, I went to orientation, and I was driving home from Galveston, and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I really don't think this is for me.
So you knew at the time, right then after orientation, that nope, not going to do this.
Yeah. It was a strange feeling, because at this point, I had never really, I wouldn't say I haven't failed, because I did, but I felt like I had failed. I felt like everything that I'd worked for meant nothing.
Just because you decided your passion was somewhere else.
Yeah. It was a very tough decision. And I took a year off from school. I worked with kids who had autism and as a behavioral therapist. And in that moment, I learned so much about human behavior. It's unreal. Because when you work with kids, and then when you work with kids who have autism, the MO is stripped. They don't have any ulterior thoughts. They are just there. And it is raw and it is real,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn so much about human nature.
Yeah, nothing's fake.
No.
It's legitimate. You get exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm. And so it was very tough.
It'd be nice if we all could be like that, right?
Right, yeah. It was very tough, though, because, of course, those kiddos have special needs and things like that. And I just revere the people that continue to work with those kiddos because they need it. And it takes a very special person.
Yeah, they sure do need it.
But for me, it was kind of just a stepping stone, but a very important one. And I didn't realize that at the time. So my mom, again, being who she is, said, okay, well, you're going to get your master's. Just figure out which one you want to go do.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied to Penn State, I applied to USC, and I got into USC, University of Southern California, and did not realize how incredible that was at the moment. Because
You mean to be admitted to
Right.
USC?
Yeah, there's only 30 people in my cohort, and I had no idea. And my mom is looking at me saying, you just got into a private university for their master's program. That's quite incredible. And for me, I'm just coasting.
Yeah, you didn't realize the significance of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was after it hit me because, again, went to orientation, absolutely loved it. I remember it was over Zoom because my program was online, but I remember coming out, and at the time I was living with my mom because times were really rough in my personal life. But, supposed to get married and that didn't happen, so moved in with mom. But I remember coming out and talking to her and saying, Mom, my teachers are rock stars.
That's awesome. So you knew
Yes.
then you were following the right
Exactly.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So, I graduated with that and during COVID, and then started a business during COVID.
So starting a business during COVID, let's transition a bit now. COVID has been just an incredible challenge to so many. Those of us who have started businesses, and even if we don't have a business, just being in this pandemic and not knowing when is it going to end, what is the future going to bring. So what kind of advice, suggestions would you give to folks that are really struggling? And there are many.
Yes. So I sought out very strategic people, very supportive but strategic people in my life that first I had to learn how to ask for help because that was a problem of mine.
Well, for some of us, I would throw myself in that as well. We have pride, right? Pride gets in the way.
Yeah.
We don't want to necessarily ask for help because that shows some vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to kind of challenge you a little bit on the presentation that I did a couple weeks ago, or last week, excuse me, we talked about the difference between having pride and being prideful. And the definition of pride is one of admiration, but the definition of being prideful is one where you have a heightened opinion of yourself.
Oh, okay.
So, for technicality purposes, I'm going to say that
I've been
right?
corrected here.
we're gonna go with being prideful, right?
Prideful.
Yeah,
Okay.
Somebody who's prideful, and they think they're on the cusp of greatness, and then they never truly reach it. And so for me, it was that moment of I was way too prideful that I had become complacent. I always felt like I was on the brink of something, but it never truly happened. It never came to fruition. And I mean, my personal life has been super tumultuous in this fact that, I felt like I needed to be independent to be strong, but I figured I needed to ask for help to be stronger. The vulnerability made me stronger.
Okay.
So for other people that are struggling during this time, it's really important to know that you can ask for help and to discern between a good helper and a not so good helper with your
Wow.
business.
So how do you do that?
Well, I mean, for me, I have a pretty good sense of intuition. I mean, I'm a behavioral coach, so I think that
But not
that
everybody
helps,
has that skill set.
but not everybody does. So it really just takes time. You have to talk to them. You have to get to know them, and truly trust that gut feeling. Trust that,
Yeah, go with your heart.
Yeah, go with your heart and know that, okay, well, this may not be a good person to have right now.
So if you have that feeling of, you feel comfortable and this person is understanding what I'm saying and I feel like they really care, then there might be somebody you would work with.
Exactly.
But if you don't feel that comfort, if you feel like they're just, sort of pacifying you, then it's not going to work.
Right. And to be quite honest, these are all concepts that come up in my clientele. These are things that come up when I have conversations and they say, okay, well, do I let this person help me, or do I hire this employee? Do I, are they going to be a detriment to my company? And, know that every choice is a gamble, but at least you made a decision.
Interesting. So for folks that are struggling during the pandemic, and we don't know when it's going to end, we hope very soon.
Right.
Depends on what you decide to listen to. It's okay to ask for help. Don't shy away from that. And whoever you ask for help, make sure you feel comfortable with that person. And open up. Tell them really what is on your mind, what's on your heart. Because if you're not open and honest, you'll never make progress, right?
Yeah. Vulnerability is key. And I think that a lot of people have lost that, especially during COVID. I mean, with masks, we don't see people's facial expressions anymore.
Yeah, you can't give somebody a smile, or sometimes when you say hello, they can't hear you. It's disconcerting.
It is.
Right?
And I mean, for any entrepreneur, if there's unprecedented times, then what better way to combat that than to be purposeful, than to make purposeful decisions, because that's what you can control.
And I think that's the big stressor, right? We can't control what's going on. And we want to. We want the answer. We want to know, is this thing going to end tomorrow? Is everything going to be okay? And we don't know that. And it can be very stressful and cause a lot of anxiety. And I think that's what we're struggling with. When we just have to persevere, right? And not be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. And there's a concept that I teach my clients that is called the Locus of Control. So
the Locus of Control.
Yes.
Okay, not the locust.
Not the locust. We do not want that, because it's like if you scroll social media and you've got like this bingo card and it says, okay, the locusts are going to come in, bingo, or whatever. And it's like, how many things in 2021 or 2020 can we get on our bingo card? So not the locusts.
Okay.
Locus meaning focal point.
Got it.
So locus.
I knew we were going to get smarter.
Yeah. I am a teacher.
I'm trying.
I'm a teacher. So, but locus of control, again, yes, meaning focal point. It just depends on where you have that focal point. So is it external or is it internal? So I have my clients stand and I have them imagine me putting a hula hoop around their body and saying, okay.
That in itself might cause some stress.
I'm sure, right? Because they feel confined. But the point I'm trying to create is that everything inside your hula hoop you can control.
Oh.
And that means your mind, your body, your thoughts, your speech, your behavior,
but everything very close.
Right. Everything is encompassed in that hula hoop.
And outside the hula hoop, no control.
Well, then
or
if
little
if you want to get technical, there's this influential sphere, right?
There's a second hula hoop?
Right. Yeah. It's like a ripple effect almost. If you're the rock, then you've got ripples.
Okay.
Right in the center, you can control because you made that ripple. The second ripple, you have an influence, but you can't control it. So this would be like family, friends. You can influence them. You can influence their decisions, but you cannot make it for them. You cannot
closer, but still no control or little control.
Right. And then you've got the third ripple, which is a pandemic.
Yeah.
This ice storm that we just had. all of that. That's the black zone. There's nothing going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here in Texas, we did have just some crazy weather a couple weeks ago, which we were not prepared for. And I know I talked to quite a few people up north, and they were like, what's going on in Texas? It wasn't that bad. Like, yes, it was that bad. You don't understand. And it caused a lot of damage, and for people, a lot of stress and anxiety. And it's that feeling of, I don't know what the future is going to bring. I can't control this. And, we, in that situation, just like the pandemic, it's okay to ask for help, right?
Exactly.
And you need to recognize that you should ask for help, and it's okay to do that.
And, as far as what you can control, again, go all the way back to your hula hoop. What can you control? You can control that you wrapped your pipes, but you can't control if they burst. And unfortunately, right. That's a sad truth. But always bring that focal point back to yourself rather than leave it outside for people or other experiences to control.
And that was the craziest week. It was like the week that should be erased from the calendar, because every day it was like, are my pipes going to burst? It's still below zero or below freezing.
Right.
Is everything okay? Then you go through the night. Is everything okay? Do we still have water?
Yeah.
And, it was like day 3, and then people are having pipes burst. Day 4, people are having, it was just the craziest thing. I never want to go through that again. I know nobody else does either.
No, and I was out of power for over 40 hours, didn't have water for longer than that. And even then after that, it was like, oh, are we going to have water today? I don't know. You wake up and you're like, oh, no water today. Guess I'm not showering.
Right.
And it was just the craziest thing. It's like, the pandemic, stay home. But next level is we're going to teach you survival skills.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Very, very challenging for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mackenzie, what is next for Blink, and where do you see yourself in the next year? And if you were to take your snapshot a year from now, what's it going to look like?
Oh my goodness. That is a very good question. There's so many things I want to accomplish, but one of the things is that I want to I want to figure out a way to measure how I make a difference in people's lives. I want to be able to measure that, and then
my guess is it's been pretty significant already.
I would hope so. I would think so. But my clients are also different, that, it's not necessarily we're measuring everybody's ROI. I mean, that's not necessarily what we can do. It's this specific person has a problem with communication. And so how are we going to measure the growth of her communication? Or this person over here has I wouldn't necessarily say a problem, but they have a situation with being, confrontational or non-confrontational. So how do we measure their assertiveness? Everybody is different for me. So I really try to operationally define growth. So with my company, I really want to be able to serve the community in a year. That would make me feel like I am making a really good impact, and that's almost like it's definition.
A great goal.
Right. It's almost like a definition of success, where if I can give back, I'm doing okay.
That is perfect, because as a true, strong leader, it's not about serving ourselves.
No.
It's never about what we can do for our own personal gain, but it's always about serving everybody else. And what can you do to make other people better? And whether it's the community, your clients, whatever the case is, if you're always thinking of other people first and your impact and value on those other people, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So kudos. Good for you. What else? What else is going to happen in Blink?
Oh my goodness. Well,
I know you've got lots of goals and ambitions.
I mean, I'm trying to build out my virtual platform. So I want to be able to offer coaching in any area at any time. I want to be able to offer group coaching of the same. I want to be accessible to as many people as possible because, of course, if you have any type of psychological component to your workplace, people think it's astronomically expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to see a therapist and not have insurance and your cash pay,
it's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
It's an investment.
Absolutely. And for me, it's still an investment, but instead of an investment in figuring out who you were, it's an investment of figuring out who you are and who you could be. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's, okay, well, how much do you value your breakthrough? Because then that's how much you're going to pay me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I look at it as, when people say, well, I don't, it costs too much to have a coach.
Right.
Yeah, coaches are too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost of not having one?
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost of not progressing, getting better, moving forward with yourself, with your business, whatever the case is? The cost of not having a coach and somebody like you would be much greater. So
Yeah.
it's a wise investment.
I agree.
Right?
And I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but I believe that people think that coaches are in direct competition with each other. And for us, that doesn't necessarily happen.
No, not at all.
Mm-mm.
In fact, coaches complement each other's skill sets, right? I mean, for me, I have more than one coach. The only way we can be the best coaches possible is if we're also coached.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it takes more than one.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to your question about, how I made it through COVID. Well, because the first thing I did was solidify a coach. And she was one of the first people to text me happy birthday this morning.
All right.
And, she's typically a leadership coach, but being a coach herself, she's like, what better way than to seek help? And, that's what I mean about those strategic people. You got to make really good decisions about the people that are in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be sure to get what you need.
Right.
And you can only do that when you ask for help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to do that.
Don't be afraid. Yeah. Get an accountant, get a coach.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice. Mackenzie, thank you so much for spending time talking through Blink and cognitive behavioral coaching.
Yeah.
It's been a really enlightening 37 minutes. I can't believe it's been that long. It flew by. But I hope you will come back and we'll talk more about all the accomplishments you've made in Blink coaching.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time again. You can tune in to 1,000 different podcasts, but I appreciate so much the fact that you tuned in to the Forensic Financialist. And I'm quite certain you got at least one, probably several nuggets of useful information today. Now, Mackenzie, how can people learn more about you and Blink? How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's blinkcoaching.net. And I'm not sure if you have show notes or anything, but I can put my email in there as well, and they can email me directly.
Okay. I'll be sure to include it in the show notes.
Absolutely. So I like to handle everything through me because I like to know what's going on. So if you do decide that, so you heard something that you like today, or you do want to just learn a little bit more about what I do, go ahead and email me and I will personally respond.
Awesome. Very good. Mackenzie, thank you again. And again, happy birthday. Hope
you.
It's a great day. So for all of you listeners, I know you got lots of good information out of today's episode, and I'd like to know what that is. So please contact me. Let me know what was so influential for you out of this episode. And I know there were lots of useful nuggets. You can contact me at jeff@understandablesolutions.com or visit my website at understandablesolutions.com. And if you contact me, let me know how this episode impacted you. I will give you a 60-minute executive coaching session complimentary. So I hope to hear from you. So again, thanks for tuning us in. Mackenzie, thanks for being here. Until next time, I hope today was a great one. I hope tomorrow is even better. Peace, everyone.
You've been listening to The Forensic Financialist, where we simplify business and leadership challenges and choose the road that leads to wisdom and excellence. To learn more about Jeff, visit his website at understandablesolutions.com or email Jeff at jeff@understandablesolutions.com. Mentioning this podcast will get you a complimentary discovery session with Jeff. Until next time.